Thank you for visiting Greece, for what I know, for just the day to participate in this conference. And it's really a great opportunity for us because the cruise industry as a whole is considered in Greece both as a blessing and sometimes as a curse. You being the executive chairman of one of the biggest international cruise shipping companies, are heavily investing in Greece. I know you are actually participating in the tenders for 2 Greek ports, for Lavrio and Katakolo, and you are also increased capacity and home porting in Piraeus and the Aegean. So according to your opinion, why is Greece so interesting for you? And what are the major problems you are facing as a company?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. Just a couple of words on the cruise industry in general, which I think intellectually is a good stimulation in our conversation. First of all, the cruise industry is important to Europe. We lost so many industries, to Asians and other regions of the world. Here we're talking industrial construction, technology, strategy. The fact that we can build our own ship in Europe and actually invest in sustainability and the technology of the future, I think it gives us a huge advantage to the European economy. We're talking about 500,000 direct employed by the cruise industry, 500,000 people, so there is the indirect, induced. We're talking about an industry that actually creates economy for 50 billion euros. So this is solid, real industrial. And I think we need it, especially in a region like Europe where we lost so many leadership in so many other industry, automotives and whatever else. Okay. Then why is the cruise industry so successful? Because obviously, we democratized the luxury, so the experience of this new modern ship, it's amazing, and obviously it offers to the tourism in general an all-inclusive and especially a value for money experience. So it's very competitive. The fact that you can have a budget for a family, you know exactly what you're going to be spending, and you have the food and beverage experience, the entertainment, the fun, for all the segmentation of the population makes it so successful. Then it's also very sustainable because having only few yards that can actually build these complex ships, we don't have an oversupply. So today we're talking about the whole cruise industry globally. We're talking about 36 million passengers, okay? So we're actually talking about, in the wider picture of tourism in general, a penetration of 3%. So we're actually talking about little numbers. And obviously it's sustainable because, like I said, there is only 4 yards that can actually build such a complex ships, such a complex hardware. So there can never be an oversupply. And this is what makes the vacation, what it is, and good in so many ways because it brings, you wake up every day in a different country.
This is good. This is good business and actually good for the passengers, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's the cruise shipping as a function overall is usually blamed for overcrowding and lots of people in the same place at the same time in very small destinations, that their capacity to receive people is very limited. We had the European Parliament 2 years ago declaring Santorini as an SOS destination, and a lot of the blame was to the cruise industry. How do you think this can be handled? Because obviously you just described the opportunities for the cruise industry, and then the second thing is the value. How do local communities can benefit, take part of the value created by the industry? Because that's the second thing in Greece that it's usually criticized about.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the question. It's very important. First of all, the cruise industry, a ship, can control the flow of the passengers. This is essential to understand. Unfortunately, I say, allow me the word, cruising, a ship, as you know very well, in Greece, we all understand what ship is all about. Cruise ships are sexy. Okay, so they're visible. So every time it's easy to say, it must be that one, it must be that thing. Well, it's exactly the opposite. Cruise ships actually have the capacity to control the flow of the passenger like no other industry have. Because we actually disembark, our passenger according to the logistic, to the security, to the safety, to the destination, according to the capabilities of the pier, of the terminal that we operate. I give you an example, Dubrovnik. Medieval city with a small door, where there is the entrance of thousands of people every day. Mm-hmm. We sat down with the mayor of Dubrovnik and we control exactly our flow of how to go through the little door in Dubrovnik every day, and there is absolutely no issue. So we are the only touristic industry that can actually control the flow.
So how was Greek handling that, according to your experience?
Santorini.
Yes.
Okay. Santorini, there is an overcrowding from tourism in general. We have tour operating, planes, Airbnbs. We have the ferries. We have a huge flow of ferries, which is indiscriminated, coming to the islands. And obviously...
the passenger ships coming from Crete? Or?
Yeah, the ferries industry.
Actually, yeah.
So from Crete, the passenger, you're absolutely correct. So, and that is not controlled. Then, obviously, Santorini is very atypical because there is only one berth to actually handle all these passengers. There is only one cable car, and obviously that creates a huge funnel, for the distribution of the passenger to actual experience of Santorini. But Santorini is very unique. For example, Mykonos. Mykonos is also a very important destination. We're talking about brands.
Okay.
Cruise industry is good because we can distribute and we can work with many islands. In the case of MSC, we work with the 20 different destinations. And we don't have a seasonality because we work throughout the year. So we actually deseasonalize, because we also operate in winter. So that's the capability of cruising. I was talking to the mayor of Mykonos, and he was telling me, Vago, I love the cruise passengers. You know why? Because when my clients for the residential of the islands go to the beach and the shops are empty, the cruises come and occupy and give an economy and give a business to the local community. Then the cruise leaves and my clients come from the beach and they have a 24 hours operation. So, you cannot generalize, that's my point. Santorini have certain peculiarities, Mykonos have others, and then you have the capability of ship moving and helping and supply different coastal communities. In the case of MSC, we do in 20 islands. Okay, and obviously you have contemporary ships, luxury ships, different size of ships, different amount of passengers that disembark. So it's very much to engage with the local community to actually see how the local community can be served, how the local community can be engaged, how the local community can benefit from this passenger that is collected from all over the world. I mean, in case of MSC, last year we hosted on our ship something like 195 different nationalities. So it means that we market Greece, we market destinations that are not as famous brands like Santorini and the Mykonos, Milos, smaller islands, that we actually find the customer come, visit the destination, and we actually see that 50% of the clients, of the customers that actually visit the destination come back because they've seen it through the safety of the ship, through the cocoon experience of the ship. They come back and they actually spend their holiday on land, which is very important.
If we had here the government and the mayor of Santorini and the prefecture and all that, what would you like to see happening in Santorini? Would you like to see investments? Would you care to invest there for all the, the infrastructure to be there for the port, the berthing? And a second question is the berthing control system actually working? Do you think, the thing that have done in Santorini, the limit of 8,000 people per day?
Greece is an incredible community has got a knowledge of shipping that is unique to the world, possibly the biggest country of shipping in the world. And one day I asked a very important ship owner, why don't you have a berthing reservation system? And I never thought of it. He looked at me and he said, you know, Vago, I don't have ships that actually call Greece, so we never felt the need to create a berthing and reservation system, which is the ABC of any country, so to actually control the flow of ships in general. I'm not talking about like cruise ships, but cargo ships, ferries, all type of ships. So you need a berthing reservation system. Greece does not have a berthing reservation system, which is very also dangerous in a way. You know, we had in the past captains that were racing the first that would arrive to the island
to be served
first. So we're actually talking about a problem of safety, security, and obviously that is not controllable. So we engage with the authorities, we engage with Santorini and Mykonos. Obviously, Santorini and Mykonos are two huge brands, you know, all over the world. I think you have Santorinis in China. I mean, you know, that's
yes.
You know, you're the enemy of your own success, almost. So 80% of the traffic, let's say, of this touristic traffic goes to this destination. So we spoke to the authorities, we spoke to the central government, to the local government, and we actually we actually started to create a berthing system, okay? And it's working very well. Finally, for the first year, we did not have any overcrowding. We actually controlled not only the safety and the security, like I was saying, but we actually saw that the flow of passengers was so much better. So we need to actually implement the same system across the whole of Greece.
Do you feel, you know, that the system is prejudiced against you? I mean, if there are another 8,000 passengers arriving from islands for a day cruise, which actually do not pay the passenger fee, to which we will come back later, that was imposed this year, do you think that this kind of flow burdens you, like the cruise ship that everybody can seize, but they don't actually come from the cruise ship?
Well, I think, like I said, it's not a question of discrimination or not discrimination. We can talk about that maybe through taxation system, which is another problem. But I mean, it's the sexy look, you know, the fact that the ship is there, is visible, everybody sees it, and many times it's so easy to point a finger. So it's very important. So thank you for having me here, because I'm really having the opportunity, and it's obviously time for the cruise industry, for my company, for MSC. I mean, we carry 1 million passengers, you know, to Greece. Okay, so we will have 8 ships operating into Greece, you know, in 2026. If you reckon that direct spending, each passenger spends an average of 110 euro to the destination, you know, this is direct spending. So imagine the indirect and the induced economy that this creates. This is real economy. This is real tourists spending money and creating economy to all the coastal communities, which is so important. So you're right, yes. I mean, we're generalizing. Overcrowding is a completely different story. You know, we should look at low-cost flights, you know, cheap accommodation for a couple of days, ferry activities, you know, coming from Crete or whatever it is. So many times it's very difficult for a politician, also because if we're not engaging, you know, politicians say, it must be a cruise ship. But when they talk to us and when we actually can explain and when we actually show exactly the logic that I'm explaining here today, you know, a lot of politicians actually see the benefit and see exactly what the advantage of cruise ships can bring.
What happened in Venice? We had a discussion a week ago, and you told me that Venice is trying to design the plan for the cruise industry.
Well, Venice was a very good example. Venice was, 42 million visitors a year. Okay, the cruise industry at its peak was 1.2 million passengers. Okay, so 42 millions, 1 million. That 1 million represented with data, so we had the University Ca' Foscari to study the impact, the economical impact, and that 1,200,000 passengers represented 2/3 of the spending of the tourism in Venice, while this other 42 million is grab and go, they bring their own food, so it's a disastrous. So Venice, that again, at the time utilized politically, the sexiness of the cruise ships, is now actually engaging with us, to ensure that we actually find solution for us to go back and operate in Venice.
Are you planning to further increase capacity in Greece in the coming years? And that's the first part of the question. The second part is, you're probably going to invest if you succeed in your bid at Lavrio and Katakolo. Can you tell us the plans about this too?
Well, I heard the previous panel, so there is the need of infrastructure. We are a private company. We operate many terminals, both on the cargo side and on the cruise sides across the globe. Obviously, the terminal is part of the experience, is part of the local community to participate to the economy that these cruise ships present. Today, Piraeus is a home port, so it's very good for the airport, because obviously being a home port, it means that we have customers, like I was saying before, all these nationalities all over the world. So we have flights, we have people using hotels, taxis, restaurants. So this is real economy. And obviously Piraeus is on the fluidity of traffic is becoming very congested. So Lavrion, we think, is a natural home port as an alternative to Piraeus to grow and actually offer the opportunity to embark for cargo, for cruises, for ferries, and for marina. So obviously it would be a huge investment on our side. We're talking about the hundreds of million euros, and we're definitely looking forward for the process to go through. Maybe that's something that I would ask the authority. I did meet with the government a couple of times to actually see how to speed up all the bureaucracy to ensure that we can actually have this infrastructure, especially when we're not asking for public money, but when we invest in directly ourselves. While Katakolon is more a destination, so again, we're talking to the local community. Obviously, Olympia is all over known as a brand again all over the world. But we actually trying with the local community, through town halls, to actually see if we were awarded the destination, to actually see how we can improve the experience to passenger. Tasting the wine, tasting the local food and beverages opportunities. So that's what the cruise industry is all about, to engage with the local community.
If the opportunity came up and you were called by the government or the relevant authorities to help build a second teleferic at Santorini, would you be interested in that?
Tomorrow morning. I'll put the money. I don't ask anybody. I'll do it.
Have you started any discussions for that?
Santorini is very is difficult because we have a lot of friends and somehow we have some enemies, and I don't understand why. So obviously we disrupting the interest of somebody because he actually makes no sense. We would be able to talk. It's something that we're looking at to answer your questions, and I hope there will be the interest. Obviously there is a lot of people that understand what the cruise industry brings as economy locally to actually bring a second teleferic, because if we could do so, obviously we would solve the problem, safety, security of transporting the people from the sea to the top of the...
We have to wrap it up, and I would like your comment for Greece as a destination as a whole, not only for the cruise industry. I know you particularly like Greece, so how do you see the Greek tourism brand developing in the coming years?
Well, Greece is a huge brand. I personally spend my holidays in Greece, so for 25 years,
Right.
so I love Greece. I think that I see there is a huge improvement on the hospitality, on the food side as well. And obviously being such a famous brand all over the world, we see an increase in the numbers. I think this last season proven my logic. And if you allow me, I'd like to add one more thing on the sustainability, because cruising many times has been pointed out as a polluter. You cannot appreciate the technology that goes into these ships. Okay, when I design a ship for you, if you give me one more minute.
Yes, please.
When I design a ship today, will deliver in 5 years' time. Okay, so I amortize a ship, let's say 30 years. So if I order a ship now, I design a ship that in 2035 will have to be actual, not only to the experience to the customer, but actual on technology for sustainability.
So what comply with the regulations.
Yes, exactly. So we exceed in the regulation. So on the emission, we were hearing before about water, we produce our own water. We actually use our own water that we produce to such a pH quality that we actually serve it and we produce beers and we serve it as mineral water. We even have propellers with a cavitation with low frequency so we don't disturb the mammals. We actually have advanced waste treatment. So, and obviously the latest is LNG, bio-LNG. So sustainability, my commitment as MSC, my commitment as an industry of a net zero 2050. So not only we support the technology and the sustainability aspect, but we are right on course to carry a lot of passengers, a lot of tourism at zero impact to the environment. And this is not only my promise, but it's my commitment and my big belief that if we actually reach to that, we will have an incredible, successful industry going forward.
Mr. Vago, thank you very much for the very useful insight in the industry and your plans for Greece. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.